Hello everybody, my name is M&M Man and welcome back to my review of Iron Lung. In this video, we're going to be reviewing Iron Lung, which is a film made by Markiplier, who is a famous YouTuber. Markiplier needs no introduction if you're under the age of 30, and if you're over it, then there's no point giving an introduction because you'll probably just be lost at that point anyways. Iron Lung is his theatrical debut, making this film based on a video game of the same name, I believe. Now, YouTuber movies have a pretty bad rep, and very deservedly so. If you've seen any of these, they are not good whatsoever. A lot of the times it feels like amateur production with a lot of overacting, and it doesn't ever feel like a movie usually. It feels like a YouTube video with a budget. Which is why it's very surprising that the issues with Iron Lung are not in those elements that you would usually associate with a YouTuber going to make a movie. You would think, oh, well, YouTubers usually make videos that are edited and paced with a speed to keep people with a low attention span invested for a longer amount of time. So you would think it would be very flashy, a lot of cutting, a lot of quick pacing, and a lot of interesting visual stuff always going on to the point of it being overstimulating. But this movie does very good at restraining itself, both in its pace and in its visuals. All you really need to know for a plot summary is that Markiplier is in a submarine in a blood ocean, and a mystery unfolds from there. Anything else would be kind of getting into spoilers. For a bottle film, it makes all the right use out of the one location that they chose. You can tell that all of their budget, which was very limited, was put into the production of design of this submarine that Markiplier's in for the entire movie. He's the only character that you really get to see throughout the whole movie. There are some other characters that talk, some that you can see through a window, but nobody else that you really get to stick with like you do with Markiplier in this movie. And that's both to the movie's benefit and to its detriment. It's obviously trying to do a very slow burn type of horror where the main appeal is about building up suspense and immersing you in this world and scenery. But the biggest problem here is the pacing. The pacing does not lend itself well to a slow burn. A slow burn inherently is supposed to be a bit slower, but here it feels like we're crawling sometimes, just dragging on scenes for way longer than we should be. It feels like they overcompensated with that pacing issue where instead of making it a way too quickly paced movie more in the style of a YouTube video, they went in the opposite direction and it feels way too slowly paced for what it has. Now, in a slow burn, it's really going to depend on the ending, or specifically the third act as a whole, if it's going to come together and work. And this movie, it's about half and half. I wouldn't say that it justifies the slow burn, but the third act is easily the most interesting. There's some cool visual effects here and there. The tension is a lot stronger than in the rest of the movie. And overall, that's the only part of the movie where it feels like the plot and pacing are moving at a decent pace. The biggest issue with this movie is that it's kind of boring. Markiplier does okay as a lead, but he's not a strong enough actor to fully carry this movie. He doesn't have like any so bad it's good lines or any weird hiccups like that, but he doesn't facilitate that ideal image you want in an actor whenever they're in a slow burn solo movie like this. That acting where the face conveys everything you need for every scene, where you're so much more invested in the tension that the movie is building up because the character is so stressed out, or because the character does have those moments of relief. Markiplier seems to have the same face and the same reaction throughout this entire movie, and it makes it a lot more difficult to get wrapped up in his character's journey because of that. The filmmaking on display here is pretty good. Since it's a bottle movie, there's only so many things that you can do with a location, but the way that they shoot it keeps it interesting enough. I wasn't the biggest fan of watching this movie. I quite frankly thought it was kind of boring, but I do very much appreciate what this movie represents and what it's doing for the broader film industry. Not the fact that a YouTuber made this, but an independent creator who completely self-funded it without the help of a big studio and got it to release, and it has already made back its budget and then some, is a really encouraging fact. I'm sure the next movie that this team makes will be a lot better than this one. They'll probably learn from their mistakes and make something a lot more engaging. And who knows, this might inspire a new generation of young filmmakers to, with a lower budget, seek to make a film that has its own voice. We're currently in an age where everything seems to be reigned by big corporations and blockbusters. There's still great independent movies coming out, But it's not like the early 2000s where they seem to be getting the recognition that they deserve. Now we're lucky if they get dumped on streaming with a little bit of fan service to it. This movie is a callback to more of the 90s and 2000s where this independent movie is doing well in theaters. It is getting pretty decent reception, and it does feel like it's making a difference. So while I wasn't a big fan of watching the movie, I do very much appreciate what it represents and the effort that the crew clearly poured into this project. But hey, that's just what I thought. If you want to yell at me, feel free to comment below, and as always, I'll see you in the next one.